Welcome back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have an exceptional guest who is a leader in the digital solutions and user experience space, Ismael. He is the founder and director at Capicua. With over a decade of experience, Ismael has led Capicua to be recognized as an Inc. 5000 B2B software development company.
Right. So I'm working on digital product development, and that's what we have been doing for the last 15 years. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're not going to waste any time. We are going to delve right on in. With your extensive background in UX design driven development, I would love to get your thoughts on what you believe is the most critical element for companies to succeed in the digital solutions landscape today.
To be aligned, I think that technology most complex problem is alignment. It's not the tech per itself. It means like your organization has to be aligned towards what you want to achieve. Most organizations are not 100% tech oriented, and tech is part of their operations. So if you want to succeed in the future to come, you will need to be aligned, especially with disruptions coming from the latest wave of generative AI.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you think some of the alignment challenges are?
Sure, the alignment challenges are you have regulatory challenges, right? That are coming from outside of the company. But inside of the company, you will have like a lot of sometimes anxiety coming from the different stakeholders. C suites are feeling a lot of FOMO, especially talking about like the latest wave of technology, which is generative AI, into how this new technology will disrupt their value creation. And people working for the company, they have a lot of fear because they feel that they will be replaced or part of their jobs are going to be replaced by technology. So it's this pulsion in the middle of how we manage and navigate those different feelings, right? So
So speaking of feelings and like team and team culture, how has culture actually contributed to your company's recognition in your industry?
the biggest or most important thing of the company should have it's an alignment with their values, right? If you're true to your values, your culture will thrive it on itself because the values will be the foundation of your action. And culture, it's the action of the company. It's not just how do we portray ourselves to be, but how we really operate. And culture is something that it has to be experienced and lived. It's not something that has to be declared. So that's how we have been navigating, especially over the last few years that have been tough for the industry. We were true to our values, and that's one of the reasons why I think our culture got stronger because of that.
The good news is I think there's like a trend towards really leaning on your values in order to navigate the yeses and nos of what do we do, what do we not do. And I don't remember that being a thing in the past. So I'm glad to hear you saying that. So think a little bit about, let's combine this concept around values guiding you and operational concepts like remaining agile and adaptable. What are some of the core decisions that you've made over the past 6 months that have really helped you to manage your changing client expectations, especially knowing that things are going so fast? That's
Exactly.
okay.
So
Yeah.
when we saw that the new wave was coming, we decided to create a center of excellence, and we created like an AI center of excellence that was able to help us navigate for our clients and for ourselves as well what was this new wave and what was it about. So we created internal products. We helped clients integrate technology and AI with their existing businesses, and that helped us to understand what this new phenomenon was and how we could help clients to navigate it from multiple perspectives, not just the technological one. As I was mentioning before, what was the alignment and what
Mhm.
the different friction that will come or has been coming from integrating this technology. So I think that will be it.
What are some of the interesting things that you found are friction points for companies as they are trying to implement artificial intelligence?
Humans.
It
Right.
makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone, it's a little bit fearful of this, and the
mhm,
hype of AI has not helped at all.
that's right.
This replacement of humans and these ideas of we're going to build the next Skynet or we're going to build Skynet, it's not helpful. AI
Mm,
is not magical. It requires a lot of work in order to produce
good
gain
results. Mhm,
results. 90% of those results are incremental, meaning like it's not going to be transformative and it's going to be a helpful aid regardless of where you are, but it's not going to transform your business overnight.
yeah,
And on the transformative sides, most business leaderships sometimes they are not aware that those transformations can happen and they're not willing to cannibalize what they have already built. There's a lot of sunken cost into what they are building.
mhm.
So the transformational side comes from challengers most of the time that are not inside of the company.
Mm.
That's what you will see in the market. The same thing we have been seeing for probably the last 30 years.
So tell me a little bit more about how do you see that your clients would need to change how they're thinking about and processing their decisions around AI? Like maybe give me a couple of points that you would want them to be considering.
I think everyone that I have a chance to speak with, they're interested about, which is a good thing. I think there are like two recent examples of technologies that were overlooked that created major impacts in value created companies. For sure, one was internet when e-commerce was a new term, and no one bet that internet was going to be driving the majority of commerce. The second one, I think, was blockchain. The promise
Mhm,
of blockchain was so high that it was going to transform the way we live. So far, that last one has not yet coalesced.
mhm,
But I think with this latest wave of AI, I think leaders are seeing it like a more transformative solution, practical solution, because I think that use examples such as ChatGPT, that you are able to create content and you're able to spin some works of product that are more like coming from intelligence. I think they believe that the jump to helping them create intellectual value is going to be much more productive than other technologies. And
mhm.
that's why I believe that that's the excitement coming from. Still, the promise of AI is, in my opinion, way overhyped. It doesn't help this AGI
Yeah,
and these other promises that are good visions, but they're not practical at the moment
yeah.
and probably are not going to be practical in this next foreseeable future. Talking about 5 to 10 years, right? So
Yeah, and not without significant human intervention. I think that's one of the things that people misunderstand about specifically generative AI, right? Which still needs a lot of stuff behind it in order to do really the core tasks, right? Even the talk about agents, you still got to build the brains of an agent, and that has to be built based on human competency at this given time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as we move forward. But there's like technology needs technology at this point, and that's how I see AI. AI is a tool, but it's a tool that needs context. It needs some other stuff in the back end in order for it to work effectively.
and one last thought about that. It's
Yeah.
a technical issue of AI. It's a non-deterministic output, meaning like if you ask the same question and I ask the same question, based on the context, based on whatever other algorithmic reasons, the answer is not going to be the same,
Yeah.
right? And that small difference between the technologies that we have known they are tried and true, that new understanding of how are we going to work with non-deterministic outputs, it's a completely different thing that we need to harness and yet for us humans to understand how we're going to interact and trust that technology.
Yeah, I think you break up a good point. I don't want to leave this space because it actually impacts how we think about utilizing artificial intelligence in our decision making process. So, right now, we see a lot of trust in content development, right? Someone pulls it up and they write their content on it. But again, there are challenges there, right? I can't just use it as is because the information may not be exactly what it needs to be. So, what's sitting behind that so that I can effectively use it? So, I feel like there's all this, there's good stuff, and then there's like where the human needs to be very careful and how they're deploying the good stuff to keep it good. And then
Mhm.
there's all the bad stuff, right? We got all the bias and the risk associated with this. So, people will still need really solid frameworks and processes for developing this. Tell me a little bit more about how you talk to your clients and your prospects about making decisions like this. Like, I'm going to implement AI. What are some of the considerations that you talk to your clients about?
Yeah, first we map where AI can be applied to across the whole organization. And then we categorize and we organize, okay, where are the good tests that we can start implementing AI? So what we're building is just not just the AI capability within their team, but also AI resilience, that they understand how to work with AI. And as a rule of thumb, we don't go to the most ROI important cases right out of the bat. We build our confidence within the team step by step in order to get to a more incremental ROI impact.
Yeah. What I really so before you go on, I'll just say what I really appreciate, and this is for the audience mostly, is this idea of building up confidence so that you can establish ROI is critical in any decision making process. It's really critical in this one about technology and developing technologies to use.
And this is not that different from any other technology that any leader has implemented. It has more opportunities, but again, you have to understand the risks, the liabilities, and all that. It's industry by industry. It's not the same to do it at a healthcare company than like a B2B SaaS company that's not regulated by any important
Yeah.
compliance regulations. So
Mhm.
it's crawl, walk, run, fly, right? So that's the
Out-
whole ethos of any technology implementation that
yeah.
you can think about.
So I like crawl, walk, run, fly. So for our audience, if you think about your own digital solutions experiences, what decisions have you made that have significantly impacted your company's digital transformation? Where are you crawling, walking, running, and flying? I'd love for you to share your thoughts with us on LinkedIn or other social media. Use Dynamic Decisions podcast to let us know that you're thinking about these things. Ismael, let's switch a little bit gears and I want to talk a little bit about leadership. So, as a founder and you're managing a diverse team across multiple countries, what strategies do you employ to cultivate a culture of innovation within your team?
Let's go back to our values. And one of our values is that we follow New York City subway rules. That it's something like if you see something, you say something, but you don't just stop at saying it. You need to own the ideas that you want to implement. You need to own that to the end of it, right? It's the responsibility of carrying it forward. And we give room for people to fail forward. That's another value that we have. It, like we manage the risk associated with initiatives and we help them create something that sometimes we know that there's a risk for failure, but it's important for the person that's carrying that forward to be able to create the path forward, the leadership skills that they need. Because we push our leaders are grown from within, right? We don't hire leaders from outside of our organization. We train them, we mature them, and that's how we have been growing our company leadership.
So for the audience, like if you picking up what he's putting down, one is you have to grow leaders. I think that it's an important concept. So that means you're hiring. Also, your hiring decisions have to be effective. You have to be thinking about people in their future state, not just in their current state when you hire them. So you're thinking about people in the long term. So that's a really good cultural, so not only are you sticking to your values, but you're building really good culture that way because you're going to pick people who are going to be bought into the mission and the values and the vision right? Which is more long term from the very beginning. That's really, really good stuff. What about collaboration? Because I know it's really important, right? In organizations, how do you make sure that you're effectively collaborating? I want to put a little pin on this because I think about design and development teams. And in your scenario, those two are different. So you're trying to deliver exceptional user experiences. How do you keep those two teams aligned and collaborating effectively and be decision forward as you think about those? What kind of decisions are you making to make that happen?
Perfect. So, in terms of collaboration, we create bridges. We don't want designers to be isolated and just think about the problem from their perspective, because every problem that has complexity has multiple ways of solving it. And we don't want developers just to think on the technology side. So, what we have been creating, it's a UX driven way of thinking about the problem, and each person it's coming from their own perspective. Each team member are coming from their own perspective on collaborating on that we're creating, which is a user-centric user experience, right? A product. So designers have to think from the technology side, the business side, as well as design. And developers have to think about the consumer and the design aspects as well as the technology side. So we try to, that's what's called T-shaped skill sets, where we create bridges across the different aspects of product development, which are design, development, and business sense. So that's how we have been creating that. It's always challenging because typically when you know about a subject, you tend to retreat to what you know. There's
Mhm.
always a little bit of risk into what you don't know, but because we work on a team environment in the sense of a very horizontal way, we try to keep that aligned in that sense.
So, as a leader, you're constantly deciding day to day how you're going to keep your teams collaborating and aligned. What's hard about the decision making part of aligning your teams and keeping them together? What are some of the challenges that you see there?
I think as sprints progress and you're working towards the goal, keeping the eyes on the prize. I think that's one of the things that it's the hardest. It's like, okay, remember who we're building this for, why we're building this, what are the strategic insights that we have been securing and nurturing throughout the process. Not lose sight of the goal. I think that's the most complex one because when push comes to shove, sometimes teams make decisions that are not in the best interest of the goal, and that's why you as a leader, you have to bring that back to what is the best interest for the goal. So I think that's the most difficult one.
So outcome, keeping your teams largely outcome focused and really like honing in on that as the most important thing. Yeah, that's good. So that means that you end up tracking on your outcomes. Is that something that you guys do? Do you guys actually like write it down and then focus on it from there, track it, track where you are, status against it at all times? Is that a thing?
Yeah, we track a bunch of different KPIs, and yeah, we track that as a
So when you're measuring success, let's stay there for just a moment. So success measurement is probably one of the harder things for people to do. What are some of the key metrics that you find to be the most valuable in your decision making?
there are a bunch of variables. There are internal and external, right? So let's talk about the internal ones. So in terms of when you are creating digital products, you need to keep a pace and you need to keep a velocity. That's what you have a good trade-off between speed and quality. And we keep that as a very integral part of our development. That's one. The other one is like, okay, perfect. We're building at a good speed, at a good rate. What is the outcome that we want the product to have? From a technical perspective, we measure that based against ROI, how much the client has invested in us, we're investing in the product, against what is the lift that we are bringing as a revenue as a whole. And we that as well. I think that's a good measure for success of a project.
We always say money in, money out, and customer satisfaction because those are super critical. Okay, let's go to my favorite. It's the last segment, but it's my favorite thing to do. I like to evaluate your decision making persona. And so I do that by asking you 4 questions and then you telling me from a range of 0 to 100% how much that resonates with you. So I made a little change in how I do this on my last call because I finally realized that it's easier for people to do this if I tell you all 4 questions and then you rank your 0 to 100% across those. So you'll have 4 questions. Each question you can go 0 to 100%, but you only get 100% total. And so I'm going to read you all 4 questions, and then you're going to tell me what your percentages are for each type.
All right. So I have to, among the 4 questions, it's 100%.
It's
No,
100% across all 4 questions.
perfect. Got you.
Here's your first question. When considering a new project for a client, how are we going to ensure that it aligns with our mission of harnessing technology for a better future? That's question 1. Here's question 2. We're reflecting on our operational strategies. What specific trends or insights have we uncovered that can significantly influence our next initiatives? Our next question is, so we're evaluating our previous projects. What key lessons have we learned that fundamentally change our decision-making process? And our last one is, we're formulating new digital solutions. What specific data points are we going to rely on to validate our decisions? So those are the 4. If you could give me your 0 to 100 on each one, and then I'll tell you what the personas are.
All right. Let's do 30-30, 20-20.
Okay. So the first one is a feeler, right? So feelers are often a lot of gut driving, a lot of expertise and experience in there. So you're 30% feeler. Your next one is a planner. So you're a 30% planner. So that means I'm going to use the information, I'm going to plan forward. And then you are 20% counter. I just count it up, look in the past, and come back. And then 20% data driver. So the good news is there are no right or wrong answers in this. It's just for a little fun, but it helps you to identify what your balance of decision making is. And it should be balanced, right? There should be a quality in the information that you weigh when you make decisions. So that's pretty good. So 30, 30, 20, good job.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's how that works. I'd like to ask you one final question. If you could offer one piece of advice to aspiring leaders in the digital solutions space, what would it be?
Focus on behavior. I think behavioral economics, behavior is where the crux of the problem is, and behavior is human. So if you attack the problem from a human perspective, you will have much more chances of winning. I think that's the advice I will give. Like, understand behavior. There are good books about that, and there's a field of economics that it's new but interesting. I will focus my attention to that.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, incredible advice. And I agree. And ditto. I actually agree. I think it's not only is it an insightful perspective, but I think it's a real one, right? And I think that if we were looking at all the uncertainty in the world today, I think the best way to accomplish this is watching what people are doing. What are people doing? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And then developing and monitoring solutions based on that. So good stuff. Hey, Ismael, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Your expertise in digital solutions and user experience is really, really inspiring. Can you share with our listeners where they can find more about you and Capicoa?
Sure, they can find more at capicua.com.
Fantastic. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe, rate it, share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.